Danny, just make sure since the echo that you're as close as you can to the mic.
I love you.
I mean, that's a little too close. It's all right. I have to send you a meme that somebody sent me turn the no, not the bottom, Yeah, that one.
That's what I was trying to turn, bro.
Yeah, and then tighten it.
How's this?
That's good.
Your new mic stands will be in here soon. Hope you're happy.
I'm always happy.
200. What's up?
Okay, he got it. Okay.
You got it? Are you sure you got it?
With the Hail Mary.
What happened?
What do you mean? We are talking normally, Elmer. What do you mean?
How was the sound?
Not the best.
Okay, well, just don't worry about it. If it's not the best, don't worry about it. We'll fuck with it another day.
I'm always happy.
What's up?
That's okay.
That sounds good.
Let's just use it and then just tell them, hey, if you're watching on the live stream, know that the full experience is on the podcast, blah, blah, blah.
All right, sorry. You want to start it? You want to end it and begin?
Yeah,
let's end it and start again. And then make sure we go back and delete that.
When I point at you, hit the line. Okay, are you rolling? All right.
Ready, Scotty?
You just moved the mic away from him.
It was in the shot.
All right, it was fine, but that's okay. Here we go.
So that it was not in the shot.
Here we go. Ready?
I had it perfect.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Dream's Not Dead. And can we just be honest? If you're in America right now, I mean, if you have one positive, you're not out of shit to talk about. So we're going to have a hell of a show today. But before we take off to the show, I think, Lauren, you met a new man and you're flying off to meet him?
No. I have a powerlifting meet this weekend, so I fly out to Vegas today, weigh in tomorrow, and meet Saturday.
Awesome. Well, while you're out there, if you could get Nevada to get their shit together,
Listen.
that would be the win for the week.
Nevada is the 50th in education, so they're still sending out the ballots. It's okay. It's just gonna take them a minute.
You know what?
A minute.
In Nevada's defense, they're all still, coming out of the casinos and all that. So, just give them time to sober up. Just give them time to sober up.
Well, let's go ahead. What do we want to start with? I know there's so much to unpack today. We can start off with Warhouse and what happened there. We can go right into the debacle that is the United States political system right now. Where do we want to go?
Before we do that, real quick, we should let people know because we're on a new platform right now.
Experimental. We're starting there. The way that our checking and savings is set up, we keep building up for it. So we are going to be starting to stream YouTube. Would love some feedback on it. Let us know how you guys are hearing it on your end.
We'd love feedback on the podcast.
Yeah, anything. We're idiots. You talk shit to me, I wouldn't do it to Lauren because she gets on planes.
She's violent.
She'll fly. But hey, give us the feedback and then make sure you like, subscribe, and share. But if you don't get the full experience today, if there is any type of sound differential, anything like that, you can always follow us over on any of the major streaming networks for the podcast. You'll get the music included, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. This space is great.
It's coming along.
I've done a couple podcasts in my life, and this is probably the nicest one I've been on.
It's coming along. The actual build out, we get a little bit more equipment. Elmer does some more research. We'll be killing the game. It'll be awesome.
I just want to know when the pyrotechnics get installed.
Never. The last thing I can afford is this shit to get.
I want to get into the Warhouse thing. I know we could get into politics, obviously, but I'm kind of worn out. Maybe we'll touch on it, but
you gotta touch on it today.
We will, because it's the day, it's the week of. But Warhouse, that was for those of us that are, into lifting stuff. For those that don't know, Warhouse Gym is located in Pennsylvania. They are, it was owned by Rob and Dana Lynn Bailey. For those that don't know Rob and Dana Lynn Bailey, they are some of the biggest influencers in the fitness space and have done collaborations with many other folks that are in that space. They own an apparel line, they own a supplement company, Rob Raps. Dana Lynn was Miss Olympia times?
I believe 3.
3 times.
Minimally
Really big up people, and they announced last week that they were closing their gym. And it was very secretive until a couple days after I sent you a message. And one of the key things he touched on was his lack of leadership.
Yeah, which honestly, I thought at the end of the day, that him saying that demonstrated his leadership. I don't think, some people could say they were arguing semantics. I don't think it's necessarily leadership that he lacks. I think from the standpoint of it's the guy's creative. The guy's clearly hardworking. He does have his hands in a lot of different pots. I don't think that management and leadership are necessarily, they're not absolutely interchangeable, right? Management is part of leadership, but I know people that need them to do, right? I'm probably butchering it because it's been a few years since they had the whole definition, but essentially leadership is evoking a response in other people that makes them buy into what you want to do and your dream to have that outcome. But the problem is, it's just like with working out. The problem with motivation is fleeting, right? You can have somebody that gives a great rah-rah speech. And when we look at it, listen, one of the things that I enjoy doing is motivational speaking. But the reality is that a lot of people, when you go to a motivational speaking thing, you have to understand that only a handful of them are going to do the follow-up. Like, they're motivated in the moment. They're excited in the moment. Just like when it comes to weight loss or lifting, like, yeah, today's the day, I'm pumped up. Something causes that emotional response, right? And that emotional response, quote unquote, leads you to the gym, right? That's just the first part. And you can argue that that part of leadership is one of the most difficult parts, because you've always heard that everything starts with the first step. The first step is the hardest. I disagree with that. I don't think the first step is the hardest. I think the second step is the hardest. The third step, the 100th step, 2 millionth step. That's the hardest step. Like when you have to constantly, when the glitz and the glamour have went away from it, right? You look at the podcast, and again, this is where it's, in times in the past when I tried to set up a podcast station with multiple podcasts in it, I made the mistake of thinking that everybody would see what I saw and would understand that it was going to be a continuous effort. Like, you're not going to make 3 fucking podcasts. You're probably not going to make 100. And I feel it sometimes. Like I've made a big effort now in turning to trying to get my social media up and my Instagram engagement up, because I realize, and arguably I realized it late, that we're going to need more presence in the virtual space, right? But that's everyday work, It's just because you practice your sales every day. You have to post your truth of the spotlight every day. And what kills people is inconsistency, right? They don't. Like, one of the things that I did, for example, was I just, and I didn't even come up with this idea, someone else came up with the idea. I've had the professional page, Danny Farrar, because Facebook is a crock of shit and will only allow you to have 5,000 friends on your personal account, which is dumb. Like, I've been deleting people on their birthday for like the last 3 years because I'll get to 5,000 and I can't let somebody. But I didn't feel comfortable sharing Danny Farrar with Danny Farrar. I thought it was kind of choky, right? Yeah. And then somebody was like, well, why don't you do Ramblings of an Infantry? Take Justa and do 100 people on it. We're already over 900 followers on Ramblings, and I launched it 6 days ago, right? So it's one of those things, but every day I'm constantly calling people to go, like doing a contest, things come in. So you have to constantly do that. So I don't think it's that he necessarily isn't a leader in the sense that he has the ability, and Dana has the ability to do a call to action and get people to come in,
sure,
right? To put on this big event, to be a big promoter. But I guarantee you that and I didn't listen to the entire reason he said, but I guarantee you whether he stated it or didn't state it, and where I would be worried for him is if he didn't state it, with being a very, very concise, specific, small demographic niche, if the only thing you're doing is virtual. So all you're doing is bodybuilders, and you have, you're selling a supplement line, or you're doing a YouTube show for that. That's okay, because you don't have this enormous overhead, i.e. we talked about, every single solitary month that you got to pay, right? You can have a very, very fine focus. A guy who does this is Garrett J. White with Wake Up Warrior. He only targets married businessmen. I think he opened it up recently, but that's his target market, because it's a market that he looked at and saw nobody talks to the married businessman, right? He wants to have it all. I haven't seen the gym. I'd actually always go to it, but I've seen pictures of it. You can't go to a gym like that it looked like a big gym. I'm figuring it's anywhere from 10, 15, 20,000 square feet, probably somewhere through there.
It was a big gym. I mean, when they first opened it, they lived in the basement of their gym because they couldn't afford to have a house, and so they chose to live in the gym, build it up, and they finally bought a house like I don't know, a couple of years ago, they finally made it. She had wrapped up her last house, and they really started focusing on that. But I mean, that was like you talk about leadership style, like transformational leadership is what will get people to buy into your idea, buy into what you want to do, because it's impactful, it's emotive. That was a huge play for them, and it's sad to see that they literally went from living in the gym that they built themselves to having to close the doors. Like that.
It is, and again, like I told people, like I have no, I don't know. I actually met him one time when I was up in PA visiting our gyms. He was staying in the hotel that I was in. Met one of his trainers actually, and nice guy. Posed for a picture, was cool, was chill about everything. But I guarantee you that, he said they probably should have renegotiated rent, which is a true thing. I guarantee you they didn't.
Now, it's not impossible to be involved in multiple things. Obviously,
Yes, it is.
Well, it's not impossible to say that you're involved in a bunch of things. However, how many of those bunch of things are actually going to be well if you're spread so?
It's not even that. It's that. What do I do in Soldier Fit?
You're the face of Soldier Fit.
What do I do in Platoon?
You're the face of Platoon.
I do the same job in both things, right?
But if you did different jobs in those,
I would fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
I would fuck it up.
So do you think I think you said it in Reboot, narrowing your focus or narrowing your goal?
You got to narrow. I think you have to narrow your goal. You have to narrow your focus, and everything has to come back to support that focus. So a podcast goes back. Listen, I want to know at the end of the day what I ultimately want to do. And I was thinking about this today, and since I'm thinking about it, we're talking about it. I'll put you on the spot. I was sitting there today, and I was like, I need Lauren to be the face of Soldier Fit. I need Andrew to come in to be the face of Soldier Fit, because here's what I'm not going to do. And I'm sitting here thinking about how I do these things, and how sometimes I think the messages get messed up, right? A lot of the people that come to Soldier Fit, they're coming to it for fitness, right? And can I talk a little bit about fitness? I can. Am I going to try to go out and be the fitness guy? Not, right? Like, the truth of the matter is, like, fitness isn't my passion.
Yeah.
My passion is trying to show other people that they can be whatever they want to be. Like, my passion is to ultimately be, I want to write a book at some point. I want to be on the speaking circuit. I want to be somebody that motivates cuts a wide path of people, right? I can do part of that with Soldier Fit. One of the things that we need to change in Soldier Fit is we need to provide more content and more substance around working out. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to do that. It's just not going to happen, right? So for me, it has to become, I'm using this platform, I'm my blog, I'm using Instagram and Facebook to push the essence behind what we want Soldier Fit to do, which is the American dream. And right now, the shit's on. I think a lot of people at this point in time, right or different. I think a lot of people have lost all faith in that dream. And, you know, when you look and you talk and you go into politics, and I do want to shift to this because it does tie into this, because do you know what disheartening, do you know what actually, truthfully broke my heart about this election?
What's that?
I'm not going to lose sleep over whether Biden won. I'm not going to lose sleep over if Trump won. But what is disheartening is that Biden may very well win, right? And people still aren't fucking letting it go. It's already getting put out that, Biden wins, it doesn't fix the problem because look at the map, half of America is racist and supports systematic racism. And I'm just so tired of it because it's fucking not true. It's not true. Stop it. Damn it, stop it. It's not either, it's pretend that if you voted, you had two options. Can we fucking stop pretending that you had three options? You had two options, right? And both sides had things that they could say. People were saying Trump was racist. Everybody on Trump's side was saying that Joe Biden was a pedophile, right? There were things on both sides to support that narrative. Fucking pick one, right? So to sit down there and say that everybody was a racist, he fucked up. He carried more Spanish people down in Florida. Why didn't you like pedophiles? There was so much more competing ideology that went in there. There's a huge segment of the population that the Second Amendment is their be-all, end-all. That for them it might as well be the First Amendment. They're not going to vote for Biden. It doesn't matter. When you come out and say that you're going to put a $200 tax on every AR, and no, they're not voting for the guy, right?
What AR?
Yes, right? So not compliant. And so,
what you're talking about.
and then you even look at it, there were African Americans that weren't going to vote for Biden because of policies that he enacted and policies that Kamala Harris had enacted, right? They weren't going to fucking vote for him. And they genuinely saw Trump as, it's the sad state of affairs is we're at the point where you're having to choose between two evils. But that is the sad state of affairs. You had two choices, right? I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm going to be honest with you. And I debated being honest about it because fucking who knows what the way this world is right now. I voted for Trump. You know why I voted for Trump? I don't want to go the fuck out of business. That's it.
A lot of people that were on that.
I don't want to go out of fucking business. I don't like, and this is a point that people look at on the news, and I thought it was telling, and I thought it was fucking sad. On the news, multiple people, when they polled, and we saw how shitty the polling was, when they polled, they said, do you think Trump is trustworthy? It was something like 70% of people said they didn't. But they thought that Biden was an ineffective and weak leader. Right? Mm-hmm. So they came in that side of it. But I almost, and she was even in the office, I almost didn't go. I was like, man, I fucking fought for it. I saw the shit that the Iraqis went through to vote. I have to vote, right? Got no joy out of it, got no excitement out of it. And truth of the matter is that I knew that my vote essentially didn't count. It didn't. But what I heard about it, right? A lot of people get butthurt about electoral college, and I wrote a thing about that the other day, but I knew that in Maryland my vote essentially didn't count, right?
Because it's a guaranteed state.
Guaranteed state.
Yeah.
But for me, the point of the matter is that I was like, okay, I know what issue is important to me, right? And I don't care if the issue is important to someone else. I'm not telling you who to fucking vote for. I'm not telling you which way to go. But when I'm in front of the county council right now, they're debating taking all of business back down to 25%.
I saw the
Right?
thing.
So when I see stuff like that, like people don't understand it. It's the frustrating part about society to me today is I don't just see me. Right? If push comes to shove, and it won't come to this, but let's just say that push came to shove. Push came to shove and I lost this company. I'm 100% disabled. I still make, I think, 35 or 40,000 a year off of my disability. I'm not going to lose my house. My kids aren't going to go hungry. And somewhere along the line, I'll find a job or someplace to work at. But I think about folks that have a job here, that don't have the backup of disability that I have. What does the job market look like if this company fails? What is going to be open and available to them if this fails? I'm not saying that I don't think the staff can't work anywhere else. We got a bunch of talented people on staff. I know they can find another job, but what is that fucking pain point going to be like, right? So for me, it becomes, it's I don't like either person. I would much rather have had, I'm praying. I want Dan Crenshaw to run in 2024 or somebody that's of the ilk, right? But what is the big system going to do to it? But when we sat down here and look at it like, well, if Trump wins or because half the country voted for Trump, half the country is racist. Does anyone at this fucking table think I'm racist? Right? Really?
No.
Right? So I'm not fucking racist. It had nothing to do with that, right? But if anything, I'm at the fucking Democratic Party. 4 years ago, you gave me Hillary, right? I voted for Trump. I didn't want to vote for him the first time, but I wasn't voting for Hillary. This whole fucking country can call me whatever they want to call me. I don't give a fuck. I wasn't voting for Hillary. Wasn't going to happen. But Biden's business plan and Biden's plan for tax for the fucking ARs, I'm like, bro, like, I can't.
To own, to vote, and how trying to do that now, obviously you can't do that without disenfranchising several groups of people. However, I was having a conversation with my sister, actually, because she's like, did you go vote? And I said, well, I'm planning on going to vote, and so on. She goes, well, make sure you vote for Biden. I was like, well, why would I vote for Biden? I'm just curious. She goes, because he's not a racist. And I was like, why is that the only thing that people talk about? I'm not saying that, hey, look, I'm not saying there aren't valid suggestions, right, for that. However, I was like, do you know what that's going to do for taxes for people who own property? Do you know what that's going to do for your income tax? You know what it's going to do for my taxes on the firearms that I own and blah, 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 and you just trickle. She goes, well, no, I mean, I don't have that stuff, so it doesn't matter to me. I was like, exactly, it doesn't apply to you, so when it does in January, I'm screwed.
Well,
I'm just giving examples.
Look
Like,
at it
there's
like
all
this.
there's all these factors to it where it's like, it's more than just.
Why do you think the race was close?
What? Sorry.
Why do you think the race was close?
The
election race. Why do you think the race is close? Why do you think that Biden didn't win by a landslide?
Because people are hesitant still.
No.
Oh.
I have not met anybody, except, honestly, I have met one. My father-in-law loves him, but whatever. I haven't met anybody that likes Trump. They genuinely like, I like that motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I know a couple people.
But Biden ran the entire time on he wasn't Trump and that Trump was a bad guy. That was their platform. I'm not Trump. Trump's racist. Trump this. Like, we didn't run a fucking plan of what to do. And again, when you've been in politics for 47 years and you say that now is the time you're going to fix it, like, that's not going to happen. And you look at it, they talk about, like, this is the same mistake that they made. I will be the first to admit this. I don't fucking like her, but I'll be the first to admit this. Hillary is probably the most qualified person to ever run for that fucking office. Mm-hmm. She was a fucking first lady for 2 terms. She was a congresswoman. She was Secretary of State. Was that Secretary of State?
An accomplished attorney.
Yeah.
An attorney. I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
But she was just such. There was just so much ethic issues around her family, or her family, from everything from what happened with their
company,
their nonprofit, how their daughter got into school, the shit. I think, and even though I don't like him, when I say I don't like him, I don't like his platform. It's not that I dislike him. I actually think he's one of the only truthfully genuine people in politics. Bernie Sanders would have walked into the presidency on either one.
Listen, the DNC screwed that because both times they didn't put up a candidate that anybody who was liberal or left or abolitionist actually
especially
likes.
the people right now, because you have a group of folks in that camp that say, hey, there are disenfranchised people who have been treated in such a way, blah, 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 blah. And then you put in 2 people who've made careers of targeting disenfranchised people.
Which doesn't make any sense. And so when you're sitting down there,
I'm like,
so when you have those people that are on the fence, like I would say they're like me. Like I very much consider myself middle of the road. I think I tend to lean more towards conservative when things talk about 2A and all of that. But again, sleep with whoever you want to, cut and change whatever body part of you want to. I really don't give a shit. It doesn't have a bearing on me. But what happens in those situations is that they don't put forth. You can't in one breath say that Trump is this, this, and this. Then when you go through the Democratic primary, your president and vice president attack each other as being the things that you're saying that Trump is, and then you fucking team up as a team to run with it, right? So I don't know of anyone there, right? I don't doubt that he was an extremely intelligent guy. He's not all there. He's not making it fucking 4 years.
yeah. Or it'll be a very difficult 4 years.
And when he goes through that side, everyone saw that Kamala is really the run. Mm-hmm. Kamala is really the one, the president. What scares people, I saw somebody talk about this the other day, is if Biden doesn't complete and Kamala becomes president, Nancy Pelosi slides in as vice president, holy shit, right? But the Democratic Party, the way that I look at it, is they have a fight for their own identity right now, which is, are we going to be extremely left and extremely liberal, or are we going to, you ever heard the term, they don't say it anymore, but they call them a blue dog Democrat.
I've heard the term, but I don't remember what it means.
So a blue dog Democrat, and if I were going to be anything, they don't use the term that much, I would be a blue dog Democrat. A blue dog Democrat is somebody that is really what I am. They're for fiscal responsibility, they're for 2A, but they also have a lot of liberal policies and ideologies behind them. They're more like the middle of the road side of the house, right? But you look at what happened in the country, like they didn't make up seats in the House, right? I mean, I think they lost some seats in the House, and they didn't gain enough seats in the Senate to flip it. So that's the crazy side about it, right? Like, the president's probably going to get switched out, but there isn't enough buy-in behind the party either to switch that side of it. So when you see things like that, my whole point to people is that, and they actually asked one of the senators that won, they go, what does this tell you? And the guy's like, it tells you the country is divided. No, it doesn't tell you the country is divided. It tells you that the only thing that people don't like is the demeanor of the leader. And you just didn't give us a fucking better option. You didn't give us a better option.
Yeah.
Not at all. And I don't know how they will ultimately fix that, but I do know this. And I think Biden will win. And I still go back and forth with it, honestly. Like, part of me is like, yo, because of the reasons of why, like, I'm like, part of me is like, yo, Trump, but part of me is like, part of me was actually rooting for Biden until I started seeing this shit come up. And I started seeing all these people posting that Biden win doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, well, fuck, man. Like, when are you going to be happy? Like, when are you going to be, like, you can fucking take this win.
It would be a win in terms of hopefully, maybe, at least taking the iron off the wound in terms of what we've seen, many things that have to be addressed that Biden and Kamala haven't had a record of supporting it. Nobody I know who is liberal, left, or abolitionist wanted these two. But for the people I care about, people I love, who are queer, who are colored, who are black, I want that iron off the wound.
I guess my only concern is that, yes, it takes it off of the wound of one side, but does it, and I'm not saying I disagree, and say, based off of how it's, not saying there isn't validity there, but based upon how it's been universally spun, that they are XYZ, you take it off of that and you put it on something else that has track record of you've withheld evidence from turning over death sentences. You've basically given the state of California free labor off of the
School to
backs
prison
of
pipeline? Yeah.
off of the backs of Latinos and blacks. Do you all these other strict drug offense terms and all that stuff? So do you just take one and put it to the other?
I think this is triage. This is they're not going to be able to fix everything. It is not going to happen.
See, and that's where I come in and say, and I know people think I'm crazy, okay? I've had enough people on both sides says, because I'll be straight up, I voted third party. But I've always been that way. I'm wild. So people are like, oh, you gave your vote to Biden, or you gave your vote to Trump, and I say both, I'm like, hey,
Sure vote.
that's my vote.
Yeah.
I'm so disenfranchised with the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
Burn it all.
But you know what the problem is, though, to the Democrat side of the house is that it's the same. It's this. Listen.
It's the same people in a different color.
I think universally, and for different reasons than the average person does, but I think everybody in the country should be pissed off at the Democratic Party. And I think they should be pissed off at the Democratic Party because you've had 4 years to come up with better. If I was a Democrat, I would be pissed at my own party. Like, I'd be fucking angry. Like, it shouldn't have been a close race. Like, I was shocked. I was shocked it was a close race. I really was. I will tell you something that I noticed, though. Go ahead, and this is the thing that makes me wonder about, like, some of this shit. You on Instagram? All right, go ahead and do a post like you're going to do a post.
Okay.
And then I want you to hashtag Biden Harris.
Take a selfie.
What?
Like, do like you're gonna post something, is what he said. What he said.
So you actually want me to, like,
Take Harris out and just do Biden.
487,000.
Now type in Trump.
I feel like my phone's gonna catch typing that blasphemous word on it. 3 million for Trump 2020.
Now, you tell me, right? You tell me how in the hell that has been used that much more than Biden and Biden-Harris.
But I think some people are using it negatively too. It's not just supporters.
Possibility, but
Yeah,
regardless.
there's a whole,
I mean,
there's been a whole campaign. for
that's
this.
a
But remember this, though, right? Like it or not like it, any publicity
sure, yes.
is good publicity,
Yeah.
right? So when I don't think people thought this entire process through, and I will still say this in the very beginning. This is where I believe the mistake was made. In Clinton, everybody that voted for Trump was a deplorable. Pissed people off. In this race, everybody that voted for Trump was a racist. It pissed people off. angry people went to vote. And in either one of those scenarios, had she not called his supporters deplorables, and had he not called the people voting for him racist, I think they walked through the fucking election.
I also think, just to be fair, Arizona. Do you think that if Trump wouldn't have gone so hard against
McCain had McCain, but again at the same
because
time,
that Arizona, for it to still, did it flip finally, or it was so close?
it was
One
right,
second,
right now it was called for, and this is the shit that pisses me off, right?
Arizona's flipped.
Okay, so
They-
Trump has had a record.
They flipped. It was
blue.
It's blue.
It was Biden for a while, but it's not even all in. They called it, and they're still at 75% votes, right? And that's the shit that annoys me about this is like they were calling winners before all the votes are in, regardless of the fact that Virginia and Maryland were going to go blue. You actually called the states for the president, like they were Trump's up in his 30% reporting. Like, I don't think you should do that personally, right? Listen, people, the last thing I said this, the last thing I want to see is this go to a Supreme Court. That will be absolutely horrible if it goes to Supreme Court. But with that said, I have so many questions about it, and maybe there's viable answers for it. But I don't understand how in the hell are the early votes still getting counted? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Or they mysteriously found other.
I mean, you can't tell me that you found in Michigan. Listen, I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I don't believe that you found 1,300 ballots and it was 130, excuse me, 130,000 ballots, and every single ballot was for Biden. That is a statistical impossibility. Like, when that shit happens, there's an issue. When we look at, and you got to think this shit through. Let's just say that it's what really happened, whatever. You can't say, yo, I'm counting to 10 p.m. He's up by 130-some thousand votes. You shut down at 10 p.m. No one else can count. And then you open back up, and we found another 300,000 votes, and now all of a sudden it's flipped and he's up and he's over. Like, someone's going to say, how the fuck is that possible, right? So you have to look at that side. When you call Arizona, when Arizona hasn't even, they're fucking 75% reporting. Like, how are you doing that? That makes no sense. Like, Nevada is off by 1%. He has a 1% lead in Nevada, right? So I look at it, they still haven't called, last I checked, they still haven't called Georgia. They still haven't called PA. So my question is, this is when it starts looking like it's, and this is why it's so important that regardless of what your reasoning behind it is, everything has to be done the same way. You can't start calling some states for one candidate before the votes are completed, but then fucking refuse to do that for the other candidate that's up and has been up the entire time. Start to go, why is that happening, right? And people are going to automatically, no one ever assumes the best of you. They're always going to assume the worst. So there's people going, why is PA and Georgia and North Carolina, why haven't they been called? You called fucking Michigan, and he had a 1% differential between them. So Michigan on that side of the house? At this stage in the game, I want Biden to win. I want Biden to win because he's a fucking popular vote. If he doesn't fucking never hear the end of that, I don't want this to go. The only way I want Trump to win at this point is if they can absolutely, unequivocally, without the shadow of a doubt,
He was voted.
There was fucking cheating. And I want him to have fucking, if it's not locked down, I want him to fucking catch it on a video camera, somebody. Yeah. If that doesn't happen, I do not want him to win.
Right. Because if it goes to the Supreme Court based on his last nomination,
it's
we're going to go,
it's a wrap.
oh, it's because they were for
It's a wrap. It is an absolute wrap. And, I'm just like, and that's to me the scary part about, and I think it's, I'll use like, I know which side of the aisle politically you fall. Like, Warren's not going to go down and break a business window or set some shit on, right? Warren is the majority. I fully understand that it's a fucking loud, vocal minority. If you were to in a holistic approach that considers themselves liberal or democratic, it's probably ridiculous. It's probably not even a percentage point of the people that will go fuck shit up, right? I don't buy into the hype. That's not how it is, right? But with that said, I don't feel like fucking this happening and having to watch cities burn for the next fucking. And part of me, if I'm honest, part of me is the other reason I went the way that I went. I don't like to fucking be bullied. I don't like to feel like people, I look at DC and looking at windows and boarded up, and I'm like, man, everybody is taking an ass whipping right now. Like, your options are either you get the outcome you want or you fuck up other people's shit. Like, I can't get behind that. Even I can't afford it. And for me, that's just the sad state of affairs that we're at. And I don't blame the Democrats because they don't unequivocally come out and say the way to do it. They've said it. People that they've said it, but they have said it. But it's your fucking fault. You had your chance to put forth fucking good candidates, and you put forth what we got. And that's just what it's going to be.
And we're in the final level of Jumanji.
We are in the final level of Jumanji, but the sad thing is I think we have to have. I think the president has to be voted and ratified by December.
You don't know who Guy Fawkes is? All right, let me tell you. We're gonna go over the politics.
I watched it like briefly.
Guy Fawkes.
You need to rewatch.
Is he the guy that wears the mask?
Yes. So Guy Fawkes,
the shit.
way back when, was, and in layman's terms, without getting way, was an anarchist, was against the government. The government was messing some stuff up, had too much control, too much power, big government bad.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Side note, we all agree that big government's bad, big brother's blah, blah, blah.
And it took place in 2020.
So, he was going to do it, got caught. They torched him, then they quartered him, and they basically
quartered him,
meaning they cut his body up and they hung him and basically paraded his parts around.
Never works out well.
No, but it's called Guy Fawkes Night. And on November 5th, I was in England, back 2001. Yeah, this after September 11th. 2002, and we were back. Nobody really Americans at that point, so we didn't tell anybody we were American. We were Canadian. It was Guy Fawkes Night, and you see all the people walking around with like mannequins, burning them in the street, and I'm like,
big movie?
No, it has nothing to do with me. This is an actual story. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
No, but Guy Fawkes blew Parliament up in V for Vendetta.
Yes, V for Vendetta is another movie. It's based loosely off of the Guy Fawkes story.
V for Vendetta in 2020.
Overseas, and I have
nowhere.
This is gonna be bad. No, it's Guy Fawkes Night. Great. This is we were down with and all this other stuff, and took control back, and they're burning mannequins. Yay, we're burning Guy Fawkes! Yay! It was the weirdest, strangest thing I've ever seen.
But the whole purpose of it, we're trying to assassinate King James, put Princess Elizabeth on the throne because he was Protestant at the time. Catholics were being persecuted in England, out of the country, murdered, all of this stuff.
But it was a lot of government control.
A lot of government control. So that was the whole. Because they said they hit the F it button real hard.
But I always wonder, like back in the day, like when they're like, like they persecuted religions like that.
Maryland was.
I always wondered, like, how did you It's not an ethnicity. Like I never really understood how you
It's ideal. It's
But I don't
ideology.
understand how you fucking figured out who they were.
Who was Catholic and who was Protestant?
Oh, well, a lot of times, depending on where you were, so like if we're looking at like 1600s, so like when the Guy Fawkes and the plot was happening, a lot of people who were coming up out of Spain and Morocco who had Spanish last names were Catholic.
Yeah.
So a lot of people changed names from like Verde to Green because they didn't want to be outed as a Catholic or to be assumed to be Catholic because of what that would mean would happen to them.
Yeah.
Same thing happened for people who immigrated who are Jewish or who were Muslim. Like, names were changed, identities were lost, because if they found out that your ass wasn't Protestant, daughters were taken, you were executed, buildings burned, and they would make sure they wiped out your entire family.
See, religion then was the politics
Religion
we
was
have
law.
now. Yeah,
Religion was
because
law then.
in Maryland, Catholics ruled. If you were Protestant, that ideology didn't mess with them. They were safe.
Well, do you watch, you guys watch Dave Chappelle and David?
Oh yeah, that's good.
We were watching last night. Have you seen it?
No, but I need
Very
to.
good.
He's a
Muslim.
I did not know he was Muslim until I watched that.
To the left, I'm Muslim.
Well, it's the second largest religion. It's the fastest growing.
I honestly, before I not pursue religion at all, I was considering converting.
To Muslim?
To Islam.
Yeah, he said that. I mean, he made a big deal about it. Religion. I think at the end of the day, like, all religions are beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's whether or not you decide. I can't quote the Bible that well, but I'm really positive that you go shit that in Christianity, especially the Old Testament, says "fuck you up." You know what I'm saying? Like, any of them have that aspect to them, but I just history and culture and the things, how it works, is they talk about and the town is in the middle of
Yellow Springs.
Yeah, it's Yellow Springs in the middle of Ohio, and it started off as an abolition. You'll feel it to a certain extent, but I make a point about not looking at the past through the lens of presentism. But listening to you say, hey, this town started as an abolitionist town, and if you're looking at it is part of some segments of the show where they're walking through downtown Yellow Springs. And the truth is, if you're walking through downtown Yellow Springs, it looks just like a small town in the South. I mean, it looks exactly like it. Is it possible that they crafted the shot to look this way? Yes. But there's like all of these, there were all these posters and pictures and stuff of George Floyd and other people that were in there. You wouldn't necessarily, if we talk about the presumptions of people, you wouldn't necessarily expect to see that in a town that looked like that. And so for me, it was like, well, listen, the past, it still reverberates very, very strongly in the present. Even though again, I don't think you can judge everything by the way that is, because people have different mindsets, but it is very clear looking at that, hey, listen, how you start has a whole lot to do with how you stay. And even if you've evolved or gotten better way, these guys have that tendency to stick to your roots. And so because they start like that, in the middle of anywhere, it's it's cool because he keeps inviting people back to that, like his comedy stand up there, which if you ever seen his he did a comedy segment there, but he also did I want to mess up the exact
His block party?
It was like 8:36 or
the George Floyd thing.
The George Floyd thing, which I still think was one of the most powerful things I've ever watched.
That was really good.
But he keeps bringing them back there. Like David Letterman, the show is back there. And what was cool about it is that everybody that's in the audience, and they had such a funny scene that he goes, David is like, yeah, everybody's here for you. He's like, no, everybody knows me. They're here for you, right? Because he just walks down the street and has it. But he said, I don't want to be, I was surprised him saying, I don't want to be a leader. And you don't hear, but he's such a weird dichotomy, because on one hand, people are looking at him like, I've seen several people say how smart he is, how articulate he is, the way that he brings light to things like police brutality. But then on the other hand, people are extremely offended by him. They get, LGBTQ is got by him, and there's multiple people that have it. And they say to David Letterman, you are single-handedly saving comedy because he's been willing to go out and push the boundaries of what people think that you can do. And I think we need a whole lot more of that shit. Like the old dude on Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
Where did you watch that one?
That was.
People lost their fucking mind over it. Basically, he was basically like, I'm gonna fuck this joke, but he was like, but then he's a LGBT. Was it June or July?
Yeah.
He's like, it's June, it's a long month,
It's
warm.
nice,
He's
man.
like, they weren't even slaves. He's like, how do we have to switch it, right? And his whole point was, and then he said something else about white women. He goes, white women lifted up. How did he word it?
The banner of. What did he say?
He basically said,
We're
white.
totally botching this.
He was like, this
People
is.
are probably very offended.
He's like, yeah, no, they were offended for doing it. But basically, he was saying that like this was supposed to be the movement that's happening right now. It was supposed to be for African Americans. It was supposed to be for LGBT. And here came white women
Oh, hell yeah.
stepping over
White
into it,
Yeah.
like with their Louis
Listen.
and making it them. And he's like, it's fucking not about you.
Mm-hmm.
People
100%.
people all offended by it.
Bill
But
Burr.
That's like the point of comedy. Point of comedy. It was a point in time. Like, can you imagine?
It's supposed to
Also,
be
though,
risque.
like, 55% of white women voted for Trump. So I'm looking at all y'all. When
Cameron-
they make these
Cameron
jokes,
But
Karen,
what's
like, y'all did this. Y'all did this.
well, actually, what's nuts about it is they said women voters outpaced men. The more women voted this election than men did,
Yeah.
which now like, and that's the other thing they were trying to expect is like when they polled, Trump did horrible with women, and were the majority of the voters. They were expecting like, how the hell is Biden not swamping? The one thing that you can say is that congratulations to Biden. He is now has the most votes of anyone in the history of the world in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So you should feel good about that.
Yeah. We've had more first-time voters in this election. So regardless of
That's what
who
blew my
wins,
mind.
I think that's great.
On a side, do you know how many people we had elected to like Senate and Congress who were queer, who
You
were
had a
like
trans.
that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. We
Yeah.
had 2 trans people elected.
Trans
Like
people.
this is outside of what the
I think it's
election
great.
does. This is phenomenal. Communities who have never had somebody who they could see themselves in finally have something.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I can do this.
I think it's great, and I don't think there's some people out there who are like, no, they're going to push their personal ideologies of it. But
Everybody
you know,
pushes
the
it to a certain
people,
extent.
the people who are in power, representing you, should have to some degree a good representation of the constituency that you represent. So if you're a growing Latino population, and you have nobody in the up there somehow represents that constituency, or not saying you should just by default give it to a Latino. I'm not saying that either. But if you don't have somebody that is having a voice for that community, it's hard, man.
Well, also keep in mind, like, Stonewall was only 51 years ago. So 50 years ago, people, the gay, LGBTQIA community, especially black trans femmes, were getting murdered. And now we have
trying to
people in
follow.
Congress who are.
But see that.
Like,
But
that is
so tell me
I'm
though. But see, this is the part where if say that if you are the white male or whatever, right? I think where part of the disconnect comes is enough people don't do what you just did.
Don't break down.
No, it's not break it down. I've always said this. If more motherfuckers would do what you just did, we wouldn't have any problems. You said, and in the interest of full disclosure, I don't know what the fuck's talking about.
So Stonewall was the riots that happened in California,
Yes.
where police were targeting gay communities,
Okay.
and it was a full-out bloodbath. Like, people were murdered, dragged out of their homes, doors kicked in, fires lit. It was a massacre.
Okay. So you listed an historical fact that a black eye, a blemish on the country's history. The country was in the wrong. You listed it. And at the same time listing that, even though you didn't necessarily articulate it at that point, anybody that has any fucking common sense would say, if shit was happening at this bad, then there are follow-on ripples and ramifications in time that's still effective.
Yeah.
In 51 years, we're electing to office, right? It's the acknowledgement of both parts of the dichotomy in that we had some fucked up shit we were doing for a while. But in just 51 years, we're making progress. This is major progress. And this is what I think gets lost in the American experiment, is that if you go back into Europe, European countries, like it took generations for a change like that to happen, right? To me, it's for that to happen in 51 years, right? And funny thing about it is depending on what side you are, if it's either that was so long ago or it was not long at all, right? Like if you're a conservative talking about, the civil rights movement, is like slavery was 200, yeah, but the civil rights movement was in the 60s. So it's not that fucking long. It's not that long, right? But on the flip side, we'll be like, it was just, and I'm speaking in broad generalities, the right will be like, slavery was 200 years ago, and then the left will be like, it was really only 51 years ago. But then the left doesn't turn around and apply that same logic to go, man, in 51 years we made this type of improvement. That's where I think why we end up having. Imagine if I woke up every day and I came to work like, hey fuckers, we didn't sell 20 memberships yesterday, right? Yeah. Like, what if I did that? Like, how motivated would you be to come to work?
None, because I'm not motivated by transactional leadership, so I'd be out.
So you can't do that. You can't do that and then expect people to be fucking motivated going. To acknowledge and say, yo man, fuck high five. We have made major progress. We've got a long ways to go, motherfucker, right? Yeah. I think Nevada became the first state to protect.
They made part of protecting gay marriage in their constitution.
Yes.
That is huge. It's a huge win.
It's a huge.
I think it's also important, like, we can highlight the wins and understand there's still a lot of work to do, right? We had a lot of trans women murdered this year. That is something that needs to be addressed. We can still be like, hell yeah, we finally have representation of that community in our political affiliation, whatever side you're on, because all right, now their voices will start to be heard, and it's not just coming from somebody who hasn't lived that experience. And I think that's one thing that happens is people get taken when they hear Trump's racist and all of this stuff, they take it as a personal attack. Well, you have to, one, take the rose glasses off. Look at it through somebody else's lens. I, as a white woman, will never understand the Latino experience, will never understand the experience because I am a white woman. I can empathize, I can do work to educate, I can do work to draw the lines and help other people who maybe look like me but don't think like me understand. But at some point in time, you have to take your glasses off and understand, like, I will not understand this experience. But how can I educate others to at least be empathetic towards it and not take it as you're going to hell, you're like, no.
I'm definitely going to hell.
You're, I'm pretty sure my family runs it. So
no, just kidding.
But like, there are steps to it. But if you just come to a fight just to break something, just because you want to break something,
break some shit,
then you're missing an opportunity where you can impact. Just like we had the other conversation the other day, the gentleman who changed that emphasis hopefully doesn't point different than yours, but where they sit might be on a different side of the table or in a different vantage point altogether. You can still come to the table with them.
But even if their moral compass and ideology does differ from you on the far extreme, civil discourse and conversation still needs to happen.
But even if it disagrees, morals and ethics in certain aspects, I don't want to say they're fluid, but you may look at something as unethical, right? So for example, with polygamy, right? There are certain people out there that think that having more than one spouse or sleeping with more than one person, it's unethical, right? Other people, but there are a lot of people out there. But there are people out there that there are fucking swingers. There are people out there that they have multiple relations, multiple marriages, and for them it's not an ethic thing. For them it's totally fine. So I think you have to be careful when you say ethics because while I do think it is a core foundation with ethics, it also depends on your culture. Like
Yeah.
what side of it comes back. So you have to be open to that side of it. But
Yes.
we're wrapping up because it's about an hour and a half now. But I agree with everything you said. With one addition, it's foot. The main thing. You look at like how Trump has came out a few times and denounced the KKK. If I'm right, I'd have to look it up, but I think he's the first president that made the KKK
A terrorist organization?
a terrorist organization. So what a lot of folks don't understand is that the people that look at him as a racist can see these things that support that argument. But then the other out there go, well, I don't see that. I see a guy that made the KKK a terrorist organization when the black president didn't even do that, right? So and then you have the different layers of it, like what matters to that person outside of it. So when people go, I'm not a fucking racist, the guy denounced the KKK, he made them a terrorist organization, something no other president has done, and I don't like Biden's tax plan, or I don't like Biden's gun plan. What needs to be able to have is that one thing isn't the other. Like if you support Biden, you don't necessarily support grabbing little kids and getting all up in their ear and talking to them or anything like that, right? In terms of Biden, I don't think Biden's a pedophile. I genuinely think, and I was reading a book, it's actually funny because it made me think about this, is like touching is like, it was the art of happiness, not the happiness advantage, the art of happiness,
Yeah.
the art of happiness, where they talk about intimacy. What is intimacy? Like we need intimacy. People in Western culture thinks of intimacy as only sexual, like we have sex, but intimacy is touch, it's handshake. Like we crave it. We want to be touched.
I just want to be snuggled.
Right? Like that's
I love snugs.
that's the side of it. So what do I think? I think that he was very genuine when he said, listen, this is how I was raised. This is how I taught to do comfort. I should have learned how to change with the times, and I can't do this or what have you. And one thing I will say is that how many of you have ever met a president of the United States?
I wish.
I've met a president of the United States.
Just to say that.
People don't understand. One thing people don't understand is that when you meet a motherfucker with that kind of power, like it does something to a room. When you know that the leader of the fucking free world, or the leader of the king of fucking, London, or the prime minister of Canada, when those motherfuckers walk into a room,
Yeah.
it is a different vibe. It is instantly different. So I can see people that even when he touched them, like them going like, oh, the fucking president touched me, right? Like, but regardless of how it all is, nobody that votes for anybody is for everything that person is for.
Yeah.
It's just not the case. So my point to people, and I'll end with this. I remember many years ago, there were 3 young girls that used to come to the gym I worked at. And one was Muslim, one was Jewish, and one was Catholic. And I looked at them, they were teenage girls, and I said, do you realize how fucking special this is? I mean, in the history of the world, do you realize how special this is? A Muslim, a Jew, and a Catholic are like best friends, right? And for years, that wasn't even a fucking thought. That wasn't even something that could come in, right? So that's what I want people to go back to and embrace and look at it. If Biden wins, Biden won because I think a lot of people were very unhappy with the manner in which Trump carried himself, right? And they didn't want that type of person for a leader. If Trump somehow wins, I don't think, it doesn't prove that the country is racist. It proves that people didn't believe Biden was going to be any different or do any better. It's actually very, very difficult to beat a sitting president. So the fact that he's probably going to get beat says a lot, right? So you have to look at it from that side of things. But most importantly, if you want this country to have any way, shape, or form to meet the promise that it's founded on, to get back to status that we want it to be in the world, you gotta celebrate your wins. And you can't go down here and now, well, yeah, we won, but fuck the other 50%. It's one thing that I will say that I very much appreciate about Biden versus Trump is that Biden said, I'm going to be the president of the people that didn't vote for me, as well as I am the president of the people that voted for me. That's the president's job. The president's job isn't just to fucking appeal to his base, right? His job is to lead the country and represent all people. If you want that to be done in the White House, my challenge to you, start doing that shit in your house. Be a voice for everybody, not just yourself, and always listen to the people talking. Until next time, guys, remember, the dream's not dead. When are you flying?
12:50. I get the fuck up out of here.
Why didn't you say that? We could have switched
Listen,
out.
I was like, I gotta go out at 10, and then I was like, shit, maybe.
Look at her looking all like celebrity fly over
I
here.
know, I was like, oh, said your thing. Nobody said